there's enough stuff going on with trying to do a TV show and trying to do a business and all at the same time. And then, you know, everybody's going to – we don't want to air that. And then we really don't have big major things that we can't work out. Let's say, hey, come here.
One week he's standing in the middle of the Martin Brothers custom shop, torch in hand, sparks flying off a quarter panel he's shaping by feel. The next week he's just gone. No goodbye episode. No post from Motor Trend. No statement from Joe Martin or his wife Amanda. Just an empty spot at the workbench where one of the most respected fabricators on reality television used to stand. If you watched Iron Resurrection from the beginning, you know exactly who I'm talking about. Mike Zabonik, the quiet welder fans nicknamed the backbone of the shop. And if you've searched his name recently, you already know the strange part. Nobody official has ever said why he left. Today we're looking at what actually happened, what's fact, what's fan theory, and why a guy this respected in the Texas hot rod world walked away from a hit TV show without a single word of explanation. Let's start with who Mike Zabonik actually is, because before he was a face on cable television he was already a legend in a much smaller circle. The circle of people who know what it takes to bring a rusted-out, decades-old car back from the dead. Iron Resurrection premiered on the Velocity Network, later moving under the Motor Trend umbrella, and centered on Martin Brothers Customs, a shop in Johnson City, Texas run by builder Joe Martin, his wife Amanda, and his longtime friend Jason "Shag" Arrington. The concept was simple and irresistible to gearheads everywhere. Find the most hopeless, rusted, forgotten classic cars and trucks in Texas, and turn them into showstoppers. Joe Martin was the face and the visionary, the guy who could look at a pile of rust and see a finished hot rod. But visionaries need someone who can actually execute that vision in steel, and that's where Mike Zabonik came in. Mike wasn't some guy discovered for the show. He was a career fabricator and welder long before a single camera showed up in Johnson City, and it showed in his work. When a car rolled into the shop looking like it had spent 30 years at the bottom of a lake, it was Mike who cut out the rotted floor pans, hand-shaped new metal to replace what rust had eaten away, and reworked frames for custom builds that had to be both beautiful and structurally sound. That last part matters more than casual viewers might realize. Joe Martin could design the wildest custom hot rod imaginable, but none of it meant anything if the metal underneath wasn't straight, strong, and safe to drive. Mike made sure of that every time before a drop of paint touched the body. What made Mike stand out to longtime fans wasn't just his skill. Plenty of shows have talented builders. It was his temperament. Reality television, especially in the automotive genre, tends to manufacture drama. Shows lean on shouting matches, blown deadlines, and manufactured rivalries because producers know conflict keeps people watching. Mike never played that game. Even under brutal time pressure, even during triple-digit Texas summers with cameras crowding around him, he stayed calm, focused, and often smiling while he worked. He wasn't performing for the camera. He was just doing the job the way he always had, and that quiet authenticity earned him a devoted following among fans tired of manufactured drama elsewhere. Alongside crew members like Javier "Shorty" Ponce, Mike was part of the mechanical core that made every build possible, long before the credits rolled each week. So when a guy like that simply stops appearing on the show, of course people are going to ask questions. Mike appeared from the show's debut episode all the way through its 4th season. Then he was noticeably absent from the next chapter of the show, and he never returned. There was no farewell scene, no on-camera explanation from Joe or Amanda, no post from official Iron Resurrection or Motor Trend accounts marking his departure. For a guy who'd been part of nearly every major build for years, that silence felt jarring to a fanbase that had grown attached to him. Naturally, the internet did what it always does when there's a vacuum of information. It filled it with theories. Automotive forums, Facebook groups, and comment sections under old episodes lit up with speculation. Some fans assumed there had to be a falling out behind the scenes with production or the Martins. Others wondered about a pay dispute, since it's well known in reality TV that background crew and specialists on these shows often aren't compensated anywhere near what viewers assume. Still others speculated it might be health-related, given how physically brutal fabrication work is over a long career. It didn't help that Mike wasn't the only well-liked crew member to quietly step away. Javier "Shorty" Ponce also left the show around a similar period to run his own shop, which only fed the narrative that something bigger might be happening at Martin Brothers Customs. Here's the important part, and it's the part a lot of other videos on this topic skip past. None of those theories have ever been confirmed. Not by Mike, not by Joe or Amanda Martin, not by Motor Trend. There has never been an official statement laying out a specific reason for his departure. What we're left with instead is a collection of educated guesses, some more plausible than others, built on what we know about Mike's personality, what we know about how physically demanding this trade is, and what we know about how reality television production tends to operate. So let's walk through those honestly as theories rather than pretending anyone, including this video, has some secret insider confirmation nobody else has. This actually isn't unusual for the shop-based reality genre as a whole. Shows built around working garages, from custom car builders to salvage yards, tend to have a revolving door of background talent, because the people doing the actual labor didn't sign up to be television personalities in the first place. They signed up to weld, wrench, and build. When the cameras and the fame start to outweigh the work itself, a lot of skilled tradespeople quietly step back toward the version of the job they actually wanted. That pattern alone doesn't tell us exactly what happened with Mike, but it's useful context for why his exit, however abrupt it felt to fans, isn't some unprecedented mystery in the world of reality television. The most talked about theory has to do with the sheer physical toll of the job itself. Metal fabrication isn't a career people casually walk into. It's decades of holding heavy grinders and welding torches for hours at a time, crouching into tight spaces under vehicle frames, breathing in dust and welding smoke, and absorbing the vibration and strain that comes with shaping steel by hand. By the time Iron Resurrection became a hit, Mike had already put in years, arguably decades, of that kind of labor in Texas garages, long before a TV crew ever walked through the door. Add the unique pressure of a television production schedule, where a build that might normally take 6 months to a year in a private shop instead has to be compressed into weeks to hit a filming deadline, and you can see why some fans believe the physical demands simply became unsustainable. This theory is plausible on its face because the trade-offs are real. Rushing detailed hand fabrication can be genuinely unsafe, both for the builder and for the eventual driver. But to be clear, this is inference based on the nature of the job, not something Mike or the show has confirmed. A second theory centers on the nature of reality television production itself, separate from any one person's health. Anyone who's worked around unscripted TV will tell you the day-to-day reality behind the camera looks nothing like the finished episode. Long shooting days, repeated takes for camera angles, lighting setups that eat into actual working time, and production schedules that don't care whether a weld needs to cure or a panel needs more time to settle. All of that is a normal part of the format. For someone who spent his whole career valuing precision over speed, that environment can wear on a person in ways that have nothing to do with drama, and everything to do with a mismatch between how they want to work and how a TV schedule demands they work. Several crew members who've left similar shop-based reality shows over the years have cited exactly this kind of burnout, not a falling out with anyone, just accumulated fatigue with the format itself. A third theory, and probably the most mundane but also one of the most common reasons people leave shows like this, is simply a shift in personal or business priorities. Mike currently runs his own operation doing fabrication, repair, and maintenance work, and by all accounts he's built a strong, respected reputation in the Texas hot rod community independent of the show. It's entirely possible that stepping back from television simply gave him more control over his schedule, his client relationships, and the type of work he wanted to take on, without a camera crew dictating his timeline. That wouldn't be a dramatic story at all. Just a skilled tradesman deciding that running his own shop on his own terms made more sense for his life than staying on a national television production indefinitely. And then there's the theory that gets floated the least seriously but deserves a mention anyway because it's consistent with everything we actually know about how Mike carried himself on camera. He might have simply never wanted the spotlight to begin with. Every account of Mike, on and off the show, describes him as a private, low-key person who let his work speak for itself rather than chasing attention. He's known for keeping his personal life, including his family history and relationships, largely out of public view, and he never leaned into the kind of social media presence that a lot of reality TV cast members build up once they get a taste of an audience. A guy like that stepping away from a hit TV show quietly, without a big farewell moment or a social media announcement, actually fits his character far more than any dramatic exit would. Sometimes the simplest explanation that someone who never wanted fame in the first place just went back to a quieter life, is the one that gets the least attention online because it doesn't make for a shocking headline. It's also worth addressing the shop dynamics directly, because a lot of speculation online assumes there must have been conflict between Mike and the Martins. But there's no actual evidence of any falling out. Multiple crew members have left Martin Brothers Customs over the years for their own reasons, including Shorty Ponce, who left to run his own paint and body shop in Dallas and has spoken positively about his time on the show since. Joe and Amanda Martin have generally been described, including by former cast members, as running the shop like a family operation, not a cutthroat production environment. None of that guarantees there was never any tension behind the scenes, but it does mean this secret feud narrative that shows up in a lot of clickbait videos on this topic isn't actually backed by anything concrete. It's worth being skeptical of any video, including ones with dramatic titles just like this one, that claims to have definitively cracked the case when even the people closest to the situation have stayed silent. So where does that leave us? Honestly, in the same place a lot of longtime fans have been for a while, with genuine respect for a guy who did exceptional work on camera without ever needing the camera to validate him, and without a confirmed answer for exactly why he stepped away. What we do know is that Mike Zabonik spent years as one of the most essential, most talented and most well-liked figures on Iron Resurrection. We know fabrication work of that caliber, done at that pace, under that kind of production pressure, takes a real toll on a person's body over time. We know television production schedules are notoriously demanding on the people who actually do the physical labor behind the finished product. And we know Mike has continued working as an independent fabricator since leaving the show, building a solid reputation in the Texas automotive community entirely on the strength of his craftsmanship, without a television deal attached to his name. Maybe that's actually the most fitting ending to this story. Not a scandal, not a blowout, not some hidden secret finally cracked open in a video, but a skilled craftsman who quietly decided that a normal, private life doing the work he loved on his own terms mattered more to him than staying famous. In an industry that's constantly chewing up talented tradespeople and demanding they turn themselves into content creators and brand personalities just to stay relevant, there's something genuinely admirable about someone who just didn't. Someone who let the metalwork speak for itself the way it always had, long before any of us were watching. It's also worth remembering that Iron Resurrection itself kept evolving after Mike's departure, shifting its focus over later seasons toward new builds, new challenges, and eventually more digital-first content as the broader television landscape changed. The show going on without him doesn't erase what he built while he was there, and it doesn't require some dark explanation either. Shows change casts. People change careers. And craftsmen like Mike, whose reputations were built on decades of hands-on work long before a network ever noticed them, generally don't need a television credit to keep doing what they do best. If Mike Zabonik ever does explain his side of the story publicly, we'll be sure to cover it and update you. Until then, what we have is respect for the work he actually did on screen, and an honest acknowledgement that the rest is speculation, not confirmed fact. What was your favorite build Mike Zabonik worked on during his time at Martin Brothers Customs? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories behind your favorite shows.